when you guys came back, I was like, where's Kyle? And I was like, in denial somewhere.
Where's our hostess?
In denial about something.
Sutton, what am I in denial about?
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 13, Episode 7. And before we get into it, let me just quickly address Kyle. Because Kyle, what I'm not going to do with you is sit here and watch you play the victim for yet another season. I find it to be hilarious that you think that Sutton owes you this loyalty and this grace when you have been a poor friend to her throughout her time on this show. And honestly speaking, I feel that Sutton is in her revenge era because a lot of these ladies have treated her so poorly since she's been on this show. I think she feels like I have nothing to lose, nothing to prove anymore. It's game on. So again, I'm here for Sutton being petty, and I'm not going to stand here and allow Kyle to cry and get out of talking about her issues because she feels like it's nobody's business. Like I said in the last recap, you don't get to collect these big checks and then say, well, I don't want to talk about this. It's nobody's business. Why are folks so invested? Baby, the same way that you've been invested in other people's business, now it's your turn to be on the hot seat. But with all that being said, let's just jump right on into it because as you guys can see, I have a lot to say and we don't have a minute to spare. So we open up this episode right where we left it off last week with the continuation of Kyle and Sutton going at it. And we see Kyle spiraling and she's going on about how she stopped drinking because at this point in her life, she needs to be clear and she can't afford to get depressed. She goes on to add that if she even has 2 glasses of wine, she wakes up the next day feeling really depressed and sad. So now Sutton brings up their conversation a few minutes ago in the other room. And now Kyle claps back and she's like, okay, girl, but let's talk about your behavior at your house 2 weeks ago. And we play back the tapes. We see Sutton talking about, name them, name them.
Name them.
Are you okay?
Name them.
Stop doing that.
I don't care what anybody says. That moment is iconic because the way I played that scene back at least 50 times, Sutton had Kyle rattled. She would not stop. She was like, name them, name them, name them. So Sutton says, look, Kyle, we already talked about that. I had a lot going on and I'm sorry for that. So now Kyle's being smug and she's like, yeah, okay, I know. It's clear that Kyle and Sutton have no plans on patching anything up at this dinner. So now it's even more awkward and more tense. And finally, the chef comes out to serve them their first course. And that first course looked delicious. It was a Jerusalem artichoke. And despite how I feel about Kyle, one thing I will always give Kyle credit for, she throws a good party. Every time she has a dinner party, a party for one of her children, for Mauricio, Mama always goes above and beyond. Like, she gives you a good spread. But I know the chef was happy to finally come out and serve them the food because the way he was hiding in the kitchen while they were arguing, I'm sure he was like, it's about time. So as they're eating their first course, Garcelle is trying to lighten up the mood, and now she turns her attention to Anne-Marie. So she's asking Anne-Marie about herself. She's like, oh, Anne-Marie, where do you live? What do you do for work? Do you have kids? Are you married? So Anne-Marie's joking around and she's like, oh, I have 4 kids. I'm 5'9". I live down the street from Kyle. I'm married to my husband who's a football player. And now Kyle turns to Anne-Marie and she's like, has your husband bought you any gifts lately? So Anne-Marie's like, yeah, he has, but not those kinds. Now, let me just stop right here because so far, I'm not that blown away by Anne-Marie. I'm going to give her another episode or 2, but she has a very thirsty energy and I don't think that she's that entertaining as a housewife. And again, I know that it's her 2nd episode on the show, but I'm not really that impressed. I can definitely see you being a one-season wonder, in the words of Alexander Rogers. And shout out to Alex. And then with all the mess coming out about her husband, I can easily see Anne-Marie getting the pink slip after this season wraps. And I swear, if I close my eyes, she sounds just like Tanya from Atlanta. So now we see Kyle turn to Garcelle, and she starts asking Garcelle, how does that work? Is it like your husband just goes up to you and says, here's a gift, I cheated? So Garcelle's like, no, it's not as black and white as that. And now she goes on to talk about what happened between her and her ex-husband. And she says that when they were married, she thought that she hit the jackpot with husbands, and she was so shocked that he would ever do anything like that. And then Garcelle goes on to say that at the end of the day, her ex-husband is a great father, a great co-parent, and that there is life after divorce. So now Cynthia interjects, and she goes on to say that she agrees that there is life after divorce and how anybody at this table could get a man, but it's all about finding the right man and how there's beauty in being single. Now, I wasn't surprised that Cynthia jumped into this conversation because we all know that she's recently divorced from Mike Hill, and their marriage only lasted for 2 years. Now, Cynthia, I think that we could have all told you that that marriage was not going to last because he had been married twice before. He had cheated on both of his wives. And then for him to admit on national TV that he never even loved the second wife or the first wife, a hot mess. But I think that anybody could have told you that the writings were on the wall, that that man is not meant to be in a monogamous marriage. Because he was saying that he has all these female friends and...
No.
Girl, it was a mess from the start. But I'm glad that Cynthia realizes that, you know, it's cool to be single for a little bit. You're not going to die. It's going to be okay. And I hope that for her next go round, she really takes her time and does her due diligence and really vets. Because if she gets somebody who's like Mike Hill again, it's going to be a disaster. So because they're talking about love and divorce and marriage and sex, Erika jumps in saying that before she dies, she wants to experience a once-in-a-lifetime love affair where they can't live without each other, just like the movies. Now, the way Sutton is on 100, she was like, Erika, you had your movie romance. It was called Harold and Maude in reverse, and what happened between you and Tom is going to end up on a Lifetime movie eventually. I was like, damn. Sutton, I want to know, who's writing your reads this season? Because Sutton is on another level. I mean, she is reading the girls without breaking a sweat. I said, come through, Sutton. Because I had to run that back, and then I sat up there and I Googled Harold and Maude, and I was just like, the shade of it all. Sutton is not taking any prisoners. I can't wait to see her at this year's reunion. And if I should be so bold, I feel like Sutton deserves first seat next to Andy this time around. We're only 7 episodes in, and Sutton has been on her A game with the reads. That confessional shade has been chef's kiss. So everybody's staring at Erika because she's still going on about how this time around, she does not care if the man is rich or poor. Dorit clocked her immediately. She said, now, Erika, what? You don't care if your next man is poor? And I said, yeah, Erika, nobody's buying that. And also, Erika, the fact that Tom left your finances in such shambles, I highly doubt that you're going to get with a man who doesn't have anything. If you were complaining in episode, 3 or 4, that you're afraid of opening up the bills, I highly doubt that you're going to get with a man who you have to pay his bills. So I said, girl, let's stop. But Erika continues on saying that she wants real love this time, not an arrangement like she and Tom had. And I'm not going to hold you. I low-key felt sorry for Erika when she said that arrangement comment, because I remember listening to a podcast that she did. This was years ago when she just joined the show. And the host was asking Erika what attracted her to Tom. and she was saying that she was attracted to his personality and how he was so powerful and he was also funny, but not once did she ever say that she was physically or sexually attracted to him. So when she was saying she wants some love and attraction this next time, I said, I'm sure you do. And that has to suck that while he had money and power, she spent all that time, all of her 30s and her 40s, being with somebody that she wasn't attracted to. And then he had the nerve to cheat on her and steal money from people on top of that. A mess. But I heard that she's actually dating somebody right now. She said that he's 12 years younger than her and he's brown. So I said, oh, okay. All right. She's getting her real type this time around. So now Dorit starts asking Denise how she's doing and if she missed the group. So Denise is laughing and she says that she actually did miss everybody. And now Dorit's like, everybody? And we all know what Dorit is trying to imply. She wants to know if Denise still has bad feelings about Lisa Rinna. Because we all remember how Lisa Rinna did her friend of 25 years, Denise Richards, so dirty. So Denise is like, yeah, I missed all of you guys. I'm in a great place. It's so good to be here. So just when you think that they're going to have a nice conversation, guess again. So now Denise turns her attention to Erika and she says, Erika, I do have a question. Why did you treat me differently after I met you? So Erika's confused and she's like, excuse me, Denise? Like, what are you talking about? So Denise says, look, when I first met you, you were lovely. You were so sweet to me. And then afterwards, you changed. So now Erika is confused and she's like, Denise, I have no hard feelings towards you. I'm cool. I'm good over here. So Denise is getting more and more riled up and she's like, again, Erika, why did you turn on me? Why did you change? You were so nice to me before, but then you got really nasty. So now Erika is like, look, Denise, can you please give me an example of what exactly I did that hurt your feelings? Because I'm drawing a blank. Denise says, well, let me be very clear. And she never makes her point. Everybody points out that Denise is obviously on something. Garcelle's like, it's not a good look. Denise must have been nervous. She's slurring her words. Dorit is like, yeah, it's not looking good for Denise. I want whatever she's on because clearly she's high on something. So now Kyle jumps in and she's like, Denise, what exactly are you trying to get at? Can you please give us an example because we're all confused? So Denise snaps and she's like, come on guys, we're all grown-ass adults. Erika, I know you remember what I'm talking about. The way Erika was trying to rack her brain, trying to figure out what exactly Denise was talking about, she was like, again, Denise, can you please tell me what I did? Can you give me a specific example? Or is it a whole thing? At this point, they're all like, what in the entire hell is going on? Did you guys catch the chef watching this go down? He was like, oh my gosh, Denise Richards is so high right now. I said, not the chef watching. At this point, Denise is still embarrassing herself. She keeps screaming out for all of them to watch the show and how they already know what she's talking about. So now you have Garcelle point out that she's in shock that Erika is so calm and collected because the old Erika would have cursed Denise out for this. Now, Garcelle, we all know why Erika is being so calm and so sweet because she's trying to rebrand. That's all it is. Deep down inside, Erika is still the same old Erika. I'm not buying this rebrand for a minute. And for all the Erika fans who are in my comments, your girl is quite rude in real life. And I spilled the tea on my BravoCon Live. But yeah, she's very rude. So yeah, I don't see it for Erika and this whole rebrand like she's so sweet and nice and calm and collected because it's all an act. And I have to say, I really felt bad watching Denise because they were all laughing at her and she's just going off the rails. So now she starts screaming at Erika and she's like, I was so nice to you and you were a bitch to me. So Erika's just sitting there blank-faced and she's like, you know what, Denise? Okay, like you got it. I'm sorry. And mind you, since Erika is confused, she's apologizing and doesn't even know why she's apologizing. So now Denise accepts her apology and I just said, again, Denise, I'm going to need you to be of sound mind the next time you want to confront somebody, because you screaming like this, you were rambling, not making any sense, the crazy facial expressions. It was clear that you had had a drink or two before you came to Kyle's, and then you had the THC infused food, and then you had another drink on top of that. That's not the best combination. I need you to be clear when trying to confront somebody, because this wasn't it. And all it made you do was look crazy. So you have Erika annoyed. She says that Denise has messed up her high. And now at this very moment, we have Sutton pulling a joint out of her purse, and she lights it up and smokes it. The way she had everybody at the table gagged. They were all like, girl, what? They said, not Miss Sutton, not Miss Southern Belle with all the manners. Crystal was like, girl, you're sitting up here lighting a joint, but yet you want to have a meltdown at Magic Mike? Like, which one is it? Now, Sutton, while I did think it was funny, I was surprised too, because the way you act about everything, you were freaking out about the THC infused food. You were like, no, I don't want any weed in my food. And then to see you smoke a joint, I was like, oh, I didn't know that you partook. Who knew? And I'm not going to hold you. I find Sutton to be fascinating because on one side, she wants to be Miss Prude. I don't do that. I don't look at things like that. Like, oh no, that's inappropriate. I could never. They were on the stage opening up their legs, simulating oral sex. Like, oh my gosh, I'm on the board of the American Ballet. I could never. And then on the other hand, you're in someone's home at their dinner table, lighting up a joint and passing it around. I'm like, okay, Sutton, which Sutton are we getting today? But that definitely did catch me off guard. And the thing about Sutton is that she has that personality where when she's good, she's on point, you love her to death. But when she's bad, she is damn near insufferable. And it's like, get this woman off of my screen. I can't stand her. Sutton, how could you? What's your problem? But when she's really in her bag, it's like, oh, she's just the greatest. And you know what's funny? That's probably how you feel about me at certain times, especially if we don't have the same faves. Because I know that when I do certain franchises, it's always a tussle in the comments and y'all be really mad at me. And it definitely shows when I review Jersey, because y'all really cannot stand me when Jersey comes on. Y'all be like, you know what, Brooke? I love you. I agree with you on about 99% of things. When it comes to Jersey, like, no, I'm riding for them. You're on the other team and we'll tussle. But, you know, we get through it. Shake it off, honey. You ain't going nowhere. We're in a relationship, so it is what it is. So at this point, this horrible dinner is over. And now we see Denise, Kyle, Sutton, and Garcelle walk over to the bar, and Denise is going off about Erika. She's like, she's a dumb, see you next Tuesday. They were all like, oh my goodness. And Denise is still ranting about how Erika is so full of it and how Erika knew exactly what she was talking about. So now at this point, everybody's over at Kyle's bar, and now Dorit walks over to talk to Denise, and things go left. Dorit's like, hey girl, just so you know, your fur jacket is upside down. I don't know why that set Denise off, but it did. She starts snapping at Dorit. She's like, Dorit, stop it. Leave me alone. You know what you're doing. So Dorit's like, girl, all I'm trying to do is help you out. Your fur jacket is upside down. I want to help you to not look silly. Denise keeps telling Dorit to be quiet. She's like, I don't care about the jacket. Leave me alone. You know what you're doing. And Dorit is better than me, because I would have said, girl, if you want to stand here looking dumb with this jacket upside down like that, then be my guest. But I'll be damned if I have you lashing out at me because I'm trying to help you. So now Denise says that she wants to leave, and now we see Kyle walk her out. And Denise, I'm going to be so honest with you. This was a big disappointment. As somebody who has wanted you to be back on this show, I said, you know, maybe being on reality TV might not be for Denise Richards. I think it might be best for her to just live her life without the cameras, because it seems like you can't handle this. I mean, your behavior, it was totally off the rails. And like I said earlier, I had secondhand embarrassment watching you make a fool of yourself at that dinner. I actually take back what I said all these episodes, saying, oh yeah, bring Denise back, bring her back. I'm like, yeah, no, that might not be the best solution. So now we have Kyle come back inside, and now she's talking to Dorit. So Dorit's asking her how she's feeling. She's like, yeah, dinner was really crazy tonight. Kyle agrees. She was like, yeah, it was really intense, really awkward. And now Dorit goes on to say that what Sutton was doing wasn't right, and how Sutton isn't being a friend. And now Dorit stirs the pot even more, and she brings up how Sutton made the comment at the table about how Kyle is in denial. So Kyle turns around and she's like, what was that, Sutton? What am I in denial about? And we know that Sutton has been beating around the bush this entire season, so she spins it back on Kyle. She's like, I don't know, Kyle. Denial about what? Like, you tell me. So now Kyle's like, look, Sutton, if you know something, then just say it. Sutton is playing coy, and then she finally says that she has questions about what's going on in Kyle's household. The way that set Kyle off, she was like, girl, worry about your own household. Don't worry about mine. So Kyle storms off into the kitchen, and then you have Sutton saying that Kyle is in denial about her marriage and her household, and she's obviously going through something and doesn't want to share it. Now, I do want to stop right here because it's important to point out that during this time, one of Kyle's best friends took their life. So her dealing with the death of her friend, marital issues, and the fallout with her sister, of course, that's going to impact anybody, right? But I just feel a way that Kyle is refusing to talk about any of this on camera. I feel like Kyle is either talking in circles half the time, she's not confirming or denying anything, and we're not really getting the full story of why she's going through all these drastic changes. And I just feel like, Kyle, you're doing yourself a disservice and the viewers a disservice by not clearly communicating that you're dealing with all these issues simultaneously. I just find it irritating that you're getting upset with Sutton. You keep saying, Sutton, if you have something to say, just say it. And then when she does, you want to bite her head off. It's clear that Kyle doesn't want to address any of her issues on camera. I'm not saying that Kyle has to share everything, because I do believe in keeping some things to yourself, but I do feel like you owe it to the viewers to give us at least 70% of what's going on, because it's clear to everybody that you are going through something and you are in denial and you don't want to face it. Period. End of story. So while you might think that Sutton is being petty, well, Kyle, you're not being honest. And also, Kyle, I just feel like you have no right to be upset with Sutton when you yourself have outed people, i.e. your sister Kim in season 1, about her being an alcoholic. I don't like the double standards where Kyle feels like she's allowed to question everybody and their lives and bring what they have going on in front of the cameras. But now, because she's in the hot seat dealing with all these tragic things, now she gets to keep quiet and yell at other people. Like, that's just not how this goes. Kyle, if you don't want to share your life, then maybe it's time to get off the show. So now Erika and Anne-Marie follow Kyle into the kitchen, and you have Kyle whining about how hurt she is. And she's like, even if I was having some problems in my marriage, I just feel like that's not the way to approach her friend, because I would never do that. And I said, oh, really, Kyle? You want to go there about how you would never embarrass a friend? Because if I recall, when LVP was crying to you about how her brother passed away, and what did you say? You were very insensitive. But now you want all this sympathy because Sutton is pressing you about your marital issues and why you're acting so strange all of a sudden. When I tell you, it was like this night couldn't get any worse. At this point, Sutton and everybody else are in the kitchen So Sutton is angry that Kyle insinuated earlier on in the night that she doesn't eat. So Kyle says, you don't eat. You claim to have this disorder that if you eat, you're going to choke. And just the smugness, just the disdain that Kyle has for Sutton, it continues to jump out. It is very apparent that Kyle does not like Sutton whatsoever. And I have always felt that Kyle has always tolerated Sutton, and that was that. But it is very clear that Kyle does not see it for Sutton whatsoever, because it's anything to embarrass Sutton. So Sutton is really angry, and she's like, really, Kyle? You want to make fun of my esophagus disorder? It's not funny. And we find out from Sutton that her disorder is so bad that she was down for 4 days because she couldn't even swallow her own saliva. I was like, wow, I have to look that up. That's crazy. At this point, Sutton is trying to go for the jugular. She's like, look, Kyle, I'm tired of fighting with you. You already lost 2 sisters. Do you really want to lose a 3rd? So now Kyle's like, really, Sutton? You want to go there about the sisters? She goes on to tell Sutton to go F herself. You have Erika in the background saying, oh, wow, that's such a low blow. I said, Erika, shut up. The way you were calling Sutton the C word all last season, baby, I don't want to hear you talk about anybody going low. Now, maybe I'm heartless. I don't know. You can tell me down in the comments. But I didn't feel any way about Sutton saying that comment. I didn't. The only thing that I was confused about was how close did Sutton think that her and Kyle were? I never got sister vibes from Sutton and Kyle. If anything, Dorit and Kyle are more like sisters because they're really close. But I never got that impression that Sutton and Kyle were so close where Sutton viewed herself as the 4th sister. And if I remember correctly, it was either last season or the season before last when Sutton was crying about the treatment she was getting from the group, and Kyle was yelling at her saying, girl, stop crying, start defending yourself. So now that Sutton has found her voice, now you want to be upset? I don't think so. Sutton is activated, and I am here for it. So Kyle is livid. She's like, Sutton, you want to play this game? Then let's play. Let's talk about your own situations with Kathy. So Sutton's like, girl, I don't care. We can talk about it. We find out that Kathy was angry at Sutton last year because she felt like Sutton wasn't defending her in the press, and she called Sutton up and yelled at her over the phone. So Kyle's like, exactly. So again, why do you want to play this game when you have felt her wrath firsthand? Let me just stop right now and let's just talk a little bit about Kathy and Kyle and that whole dynamic. You guys know that I read The House of Hilton that exposed their upbringing and their mother, Big Kathy. From what that book wrote about their mother and Kathy Hilton, Kathy is the most like her out of all the daughters. With that being said, while I was on Kathy's side all last season, that's one thing I don't like. It's clear that she thinks that she's the boss of people, and that because she has so much money and so much social standing that she's allowed to do whatever, and that there's no accountability for her actions. And I can only imagine that Sutton was on the other end of that phone and just sat there and took it. I just don't like the fact that they allow Kathy to get away with all this bad behavior. Oh, another thing. I watched the after show, and Crystal and Dorit threw major shade towards Sutton. They were like, I don't know why Sutton is acting like she was so close to Kathy, because I was invited to Nikki's wedding and I didn't see Sutton there. Then Crystal said that she's known Kathy for 17 years and she never saw Sutton around. Sutton is a new friend. So she's confused as to why Sutton is going around acting like her and Kathy have just known each other for so long and they're just great friends. And I said, I hope that we get to the truth about that, because it seems like I'm hearing 2 different things. On one hand, Sutton is saying that they're so close, they've known each other for years, and then you have other people on this cast saying, well, that's not true because I've been around Kathy for decades and I never saw Sutton until maybe 3 years ago. But be that as it may, Kathy has no right to be calling folks up and yelling at them. That's out of line. But you have Erika saying that a lot of the women in this group are scared of Kathy because Kathy holds social status and standing and she can lock you out of Beverly Hills. But luckily for her, she doesn't care about that stuff, but she knows that Sutton does. So at this point, it is very clear that this party is over. Kyle wants all of them to get the hell out of her house, and we see all of them leaving except for Erika. Erika actually stays with Kyle for a while, and she's like, "Are you okay? And by the way, I don't believe for 1 minute that there's anything wrong with your marriage." So you have Kyle so emotional, and she's like, it's just not okay what she did. And her saying that sister stuff, that was just so low. And you guys already know where I stand with this. I have always said, you cannot be the villain and the victim at the same time. You have to choose. And why do you feel like you deserve all this grace when you have not been a good friend to Sutton? You haven't. So now we jump to the next day and we see that Kyle is walking over to Anne Marie's house. So Kyle says that she loves being around Anne Marie because Anne Marie is strong and opinionated. She's a working mom. They both have 4 kids and they love working out. So we see them in Anne Marie's backyard playing pickleball. And when I tell y'all, Anne Marie has some money because that court was gorgeous. But anyhow, they're playing pickleball. Anne Marie says that she's very competitive. She's been playing sports since she was little. She ran track at one point, played basketball. She pretty much has done it all. And you can tell that she's into sports because Anne Marie, baby, those arms are toned, cut. I say, yeah, it is very clear that Miss Mamas does not play. So they finish playing pickleball and now they sit down to discuss what happened last night. So Kyle says, I love Sutton, but what happened last night was so upsetting and I don't understand why she's coming for my marriage. So now Anne Marie agrees and she says that it was really bizarre and how Sutton was talking in circles the whole night. So now Kyle jumps back in and says that she was really upset to see Garcelle jump in when Garcelle has also been through this publicly and she should be more understanding. Now I said, Kyle, let me just stop right here because do we remember when Garcelle joined this show and how you tried to embarrass her at that reunion? And you try to call her out and say that she didn't donate the $5,000 to your charity. Remember that? And then that following season, you all ganged up on her when you guys went to Del Mar. Don't sit up here and talk about how you're so upset by Garcelle's actions when you have not been a great friend to Garcelle. And also, Kyle, we both know that had the shoe been on the other foot, you would have been chiming in too, trying to press and trying to dig about information about somebody's marriage. Y'all plot on people day and night, and now you have the audacity to be upset when now it's coming back to you. I'm glad that Garcelle did get it started. So Kyle's still going down the victim road and she's like, I just feel like that sister comment that she made, that was such a low blow and it was obviously designed to hurt my feelings. Then Kyle wants to know if Sutton is dealing with something personally or if she has an issue with Kyle. And she says, either way, Sutton needs to focus on Sutton and stop focusing on me. Now we see a parallel scene with Crystal, Garcelle, Sutton, and Denise Richards all meeting up for lunch. And of course, they're also talking about what happened at Kyle's dinner and how it was a complete flop. Now, it was very nice seeing Denise in this scene. She was lucid. She was clearly of sound mind and she was not slurring her words. She looked refreshed. And I said, Denise, if you can give us this and not what you gave us the night before, that would be great. But anyhow, Garcelle makes a joke about how she heard a radio commercial about the leg issue that Sutton has. And so they start laughing about that. And then Crystal's like, how did that even get brought up yesterday? And Sutton says Kyle had made a comment saying, I don't know if you're on your 1st or 5th drink or if it's your leg medication. And now Denise is like, wait, Kyle was judging you on your drinking? And Sutton's like, yeah, Miss Ponytail and the splits, she was judging me. Now, let me just say something, right? Despite my gripes with Kyle, I've never cared one way or the other about her doing the splits. It's not like she breaks out in the splits when she's just talking to you randomly. She only does it when she's at a party and she's dancing and just having fun. I see nothing wrong with that. And honestly, I do think that it's pretty cool that she can still do the splits in her 50s. And she's definitely showing us that she's still got it and she is still very flexible. So now Crystal interjects and she says, Sutton, I have to be honest. I do think that that comment about the sisters, that was a low blow. Sutton says, yeah, you're right. I admit that it was low. And I just said, but hold on for a minute. Does anybody remember all the times that Sutton has been disrespected? Why is there so much emphasis on Kyle's feelings, but nobody cares about Sutton's feelings? Because Sutton has been called the C word multiple times. She's been laughed at. They've said some awful things to her face and behind her back. So let's not act like what Sutton said was the worst thing in the world. Why is it that everybody has to stop because Kyle is hurt, but when she hurts other people, nobody bats an eye? Now we jump on over to a short scene with Dorit and PK, and PK wants to know all the tea. He's like, how was the party at Kyle's house? How is Kyle doing? And Dorit's like, babe, all I'm gonna say is that it is evident that there is something wrong with Kyle and Mauricio. There are cracks in the foundation. Their marriage is on shaky ground. So PK goes on to say that he's not surprised because Mauricio is on this global domination track. He wants to make as much money as he can, and he's always busy. And he says, yeah, remember us? I was always gone a lot in London, so I get it. Dorit agrees, and she says that at the end of the day, it's Kyle's business to share, and that nobody should be pressing her on her business. Then she goes even further to say that it felt really gross and icky watching Garcelle and Sutton jump on her at her own dinner. Dorit, hear me clearly when I say this, but shut up. Because where was this energy when your husband was laughing at Erika cursing out Garcelle's 14-year-old son last year? I'll wait. So, girl, not too much about what's icky and what's gross and what's not right when you were sitting up there, you know, just laughing so hard at what your husband was doing. So, again, Dorit, I don't want to hear it. So now they change gears in the conversation, and now they start talking about their kids continuing with homeschooling. So Dorit wants the kids to still be homeschooled, and PK doesn't. He makes it very clear that it's important for their kids to be around other kids socializing. And Dorit's like, but babe, you don't hear what they say to me. They tell me that they want to keep being homeschooled. And PK's like, no, they need to be back in school around other kids. Like, we can't have this. So Dorit and PK are going back and forth, and PK is like, look, you obviously have a lot of fear and you're not thinking rationally, but those kids need to be back in a school around other kids their age. So now Dorit's upset and she's like, but PK, you're not even here. You're always traveling for work, and I'm like a single married mother. So I don't really want to hear your opinion on things because you're not here doing all the legwork. I am. Honestly, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have kids as of yet. I understand that Dorit, I guess, is nervous about sending them to school because of the robbery. But I do agree with PK in this case that it is important for them to be around other kids and to just, you know, socialize, and he wants to make sure that they're well adjusted. Honestly, it's going to be up to Dorit and the kids, and they'll have to go from there. But in this conversation, I was definitely siding with PK. And now we get to the final scene of the episode where Kyle and Dorit are meeting up for a hike. And Dorit is like, how are you doing? She makes a joke about Kyle not wearing her wedding band. So Kyle's like, oh my gosh, the other night was crazy. The fact that Sutton would try to make a big deal about me not wearing my wedding band, it's ridiculous. Do you know how many rings I have that she's ever seen before? Like, really? So Dorit's like, yeah. I was like, what the hell is she talking about? She was obviously trying to suggest something. So as they're talking, we see Kim Richards pull up to join them. And Kyle says that her and Kim are in a great place. Now, one person who can definitely get everybody together and she left the girls rattled, Kim Richards. Because when I tell you, that argument between her and Lisa Rinna in season 5, when they went to Amsterdam, that dinner scene lives in my head rent free. But anyhow, we find out that Kim has picked up a new hobby. She's been painting. She started painting during the pandemic and now she loves it. So Kyle goes on to say that she's happy that her and Kim are good. And then she goes on to add that it really sucks when they fall out because her nieces and nephews are a package deal. And she goes on to add that that's the hardest part about the fallouts because she's automatically cut out of seeing her nieces and nephews. Now, it is evident that their upbringing did a number on them. And I can only say this but so many times, but Kim, Kathy, and Kyle all need to go into somebody's counseling session and get some help, because this is not a healthy or normal cycle for them to always be falling out with each other. And it also seems like the three of them are never on one accord at the same time. One of them is always on the outs with the other two, where it's like right now, Kim and Kathy are close and Kim and Kyle are close, but Kyle and Kathy have fallen out. Or it's Kyle and Kathy are close, but Kim and Kyle have fallen out. Or maybe Kim and Kathy have fallen out and Kyle is in the middle of the both of them. It's like there's never really been a time where the three of them were just close at the same time. It's just a very weird dynamic. But Kyle and Kim are hugging. Kyle's emotional and she says, I just don't understand how me and Kathy got to this point. And Kim says, well, honestly, nobody's completely right. Nobody's completely wrong. You guys could have both done things differently. So Kyle goes on to say that she's just upset because they're losing so much time. They have new babies being born in the family. Nobody's seeing each other, all because of this stupid fight. So then Kyle says, but sometimes a step back is good. Kim agrees with that and she says, I understand that, but you don't want to let so much time pass that it turns into resentment. And now that's where the episode ends. Like I said, I just feel like they all need to go to therapy and really sort out their issues, because I feel like the root of why they're always falling out with each other, it starts with what happened to them when they were little. I feel like the environment that they were raised in, it really wasn't the environment that would create strong sibling bonds. I don't. I think that they were brought up to be competitive with each other. So I think in that sort of environment, how can you guys really be close? Again, my opinion, I wasn't there. I just read the book. But all in all, I do believe that Kyle, Kathy, and Kim should definitely think about going to counseling because they have some major issues. And if they don't really address it, this cycle is going to keep going on. But y'all, that was my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.